Okay, I think we're good. We're live. How about that? There was
Yeah,
no
we're good.
countdown, but
All
bang,
right.
off here we are. Oops.
Word on the street is we are live on Facebook. Let's give this a countdown in three, two, and one. Welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. Marcus Pierce here with you, and for the 370 something time, it is a great privilege to introduce the wellness doyen of the known universe. But at mean, he's a bit of a struggling golfer, so we need to give a little bit of love and compassion to the great man, Dr. Damien Christoph. How are you, brother?
Marcus Pierce, it's so great to be here with you. I'm so sorry for standing you up earlier on. I'll come clean. I had a stinker today. I didn't play well. I hit some great shots, birdied a few holes, looked good, but there's these things on golf courses called bunkers. I don't know if you've ever seen one of them. But I tell you what, I found every single one of them greenside ones today, and it nailed me, like nailed me. So I was like a bit down on myself. Had to go to a meeting, finished the meeting, thought, oh, that was so bad. I'm going to go back to the club. Anyway, I was back at the club, and I was hitting some golf balls in the bunker, and there was my great mate DJ, and he said, Damo, let me give you a lesson. So he's given me a lesson. I got to the end of my bunker session. And I thought, oh, I'll go do some putting. And then I thought, gee, it's weird that I've got nothing on Wednesday afternoon. Surely I've missed something. And so I looked at my phone and I'm on the putting green and just practicing away, holing long putts, going great. And there's a little missed call there from Marcus Pierce. I've got, oh no, I've missed 100 not out. How can you miss 100? I miss it all the time, but I don't ever miss it, if you know what I mean. So I missed it.
I know what
Sorry
you
about
mean.
that, Piercy. I've
I
come
know what you
clean.
mean. I'm all
I've
right,
come
mate. I'm
clean.
all right. I'm good with this. I actually like the fact that you were doing something happy. You were doing a good thing. It wasn't like you were just out there wasting time. But I want to know
Yeah.
if you had become a vegan for 12 weeks, would it have improved your golf game today?
Well, it's an interesting question, Piercy, because I'll tell you what. If I had a twin, an identical twin, I might put us to the challenge. But my identical twin would have to be as bad as golf as what I am to see whether or not that would actually improve it. That's what we'd have to see.
Well, you actually go quite well on the golf course, but I asked this question, folks, because just recently, two Australians, one man, where's he got? One is called Ross and one is called Hugo. They are twins. They are Australians, and one went on. They called themselves the Adventure Guinea Pigs, and one went vegan for 12
Yep.
weeks,
Yep.
and one went omnivore for
Yep.
12 weeks. And because they're genetically identical, science loves them.
They love that, don't they?
And what's even better for a bit of headline grabbing, and we're going to discuss this on this episode,
Yep.
is that the vegan 12-week fitness and diet regime
Yep.
came out on top of the omnivorous 12-week regime. And we thought, what a great conversation to have on this podcast. So what do you reckon? Do you want to give your own? I mean, you sent this to me, and I'm so grateful that you sent it to me. What was your initial response when you not only saw the headline, but had a little look at Ross and Hugo doing their thing?
Well, I found it interesting because here we are. We've got a study of n equals two, one doing the intervention and one being the control. So, so it's not a really big, accurate study, but it's a nice little observation, like to see how two people might feel if they do things slightly differently. So the control being the omnivorous diet, which is what most people would do, and then the intervention being the vegan diet, being, I
Can you just
suppose.
dumb that down for people? Because I think this is so important. If you can just simplify the language in terms of control. I mean, maybe. Can you just explain that what you're saying is that if they were both eating meat at the beginning, only one person has slightly modified what they're doing? Can you just explain that from a research perspective? Because I feel like these headlines, they're good clickbait, but they're not going to the core of what you're saying.
Yeah, so we've got twins that have decided to do two different eating programs. One of them might have already been eating meat, or both of them might have already been eating meat. And you might assume that given that they're of similar stature, similar body weight, all that sort of stuff, almost exactly the same, that they would have been living a similar sort of lifestyle with the same genes, same genetics. So when you change one person's diet, like you've changed one person's diet, and you don't change the other person's diet, of course, there's going to be something that's measurable. Now, maybe they change their diets slightly for the one who's omnivorous to just something that might be a little bit more clean, versus the other one who went from maybe omnivorous and maybe not as clean to a vegan diet. There's going to be a big shift in one of them, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, they did state that Hugo felt his energy levels were unbelievable. Now, Hugo, from what I make out, was the one who went vegan. Is that correct?
Let me just double check because I saw Debbie Bunyard said, "Hi, Damien and Marcus on Facebook." I was going to see if there
There
was
you go, Deb. Hi,
if
Deb.
we had an audience on there. So Ross was on the meat.
Yep.
And Victor
Yep.
was on the mung beans. No, Hugo.
Hugo.
Oh, I kept on saying Victor because of Hugo, the author. Hugo was on the mung beans. And
Yes.
Rock and Ross was on the meat.
Yeah, there we go. So I think that's really quite interesting. So Hugo says that he's had a change in energy, but as you and I have said in the past, that if you change your diet, whether you go from a white standard Australian diet or American diet, and you change it to include more vegetables, for example, or you change it to improve the quality of the protein, or you change it to decrease the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating, you're going to feel different. Like there's going to be a change. And so when you do something that's relatively extreme, like a vegan diet from an omnivorous platform, then you're going to have quite a detox. You will feel immediately unbelievable. You'll feel so great. Like you'll have energy abounding you. But it's the long-term implication that you and I talk about. Whether or not, does that translate to longevity? Does that translate to a whole world or life of awesomeness? Do you become an exceptional, or are you a mediocre? This is we can't really work that out.
You've been reading my manuscript.
Oh, can I just tell everybody, especially our live audience, Debbie Boneyard and Heidi Jennings, nice to see you there. Can I just say that I've been reading Marcus's manuscript for his book, and I've got to tell you, I cannot put it down. Last night I got to 11:15, and I said to Amber, "What time do you reckon it is?" So we said, "Hey Google, what's the time?" And then Google told us the time, and so then we went to sleep, and it was 11:15. I couldn't believe it. So powered on through. I'm just loving your book, and I know you've been asking me to axe stuff, but I can't because I just get so enveloped in the stories and the examples of all these people that are exceptional. It's just unbelievable. I love it. Fiona Sawyer, you need to buy yourself a copy of Marcus Pearce's book when it comes out. I know that you will, Debbie, Heidi, you will, and Fiona, I know you will too. Anyway, everybody else will too, I know. It's great, Piercy. It's great.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. Now I forget where we were, but I think what you were saying was that after 12 weeks, it's only natural that you're going to be noticing a change.
Yes.
But many people make the, let's call it the mistake. They make the mistake that those 12 weeks, because this is exactly what I did, those 12 weeks then you think have to become your life. And so now you become a vegan. Now let's be very clear. What's his name? Ross and Hugo, they started incorporating meat again after the 12 weeks, but they did recognize that they would start to incorporate more vegan foods, especially snacks, into their diet. And I think that's the wise move. We don't have to become so attached to this what is it? Monopole. What's the word for one? Like this one way, like plant-based all the way. Like it's that's where I feel
unipolar.
like we lose it. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a sensible thing to do. You don't have to be eating a cow in your snacks. You don't have to be having chicken eggs in a snack. Like you don't have to have high protein snacks all the time. In fact, there's no reason why you couldn't have vegetarian protein snacks or vegan-based protein snacks as snacks.
Oh, CPC.
CPC. Chocolate pudding cup. Totally right. So
coconut oil coming out of my everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, this is and rubbed in on your face as well, and so if you don't know the back story to that little dig, you've got to go back to
55.
something like that, way back. I might just share. I might share it again one time.
Carry on.
Anyway, it makes sense to me that you would eat your main meals that included lots of vegetables, lots of quality fats. From time to time, you may have a animal in your meal. From time to time, you may have a plant-based protein in your meal. And either of those approaches are very sensible. You don't need to be hardcore carnivore, or you don't need to be hardcore vegan in order to get some kind of a shift or change or benefit to your diet or your body. And we know that to be the case. And Kale Broccoli did a movie on it called The Longevity Film that Marcus starred in. And so it just makes sense to us that, and we understand that when you look at all these cultures around the world that live a long time, they have an omnivorous approach to their lifestyle, except for the Loma Lindens, who are vegetarian, almost vegan.
Or raging vegan, depending on their slant. So you've
That's
been
it.
vegan or vegetarian.
Yeah.
I've been vegan or vegetarian. I'd love to know, those that are watching on Facebook at the moment, have you done a vegan or vegetarian cleanse or diet? How long did you do it for? And did you feel that it wasn't sustainable? Because I think that's the big thing, is how sustainable over many years, as we've spoken about. We're still looking for a 100-year-old vegan that's been vegan since they were born. I
Yeah.
think it's great to do a 12-week. We think it's great to do a 12-week vegan diet. Go for your life. Notice what
Yeah.
it's like. That
Yeah.
could happen in the old days where you could eat a cow, but then you couldn't find a cow for 12 weeks, or a buffalo or a mammoth or a whatever it was. Like, that's life. That's the beauty of life. But I think where we get stuck, and this is what kind of triggers me about the media today, is that a 12-week diet starts turning into this vegan is the way to go for the planet. You know, this plant-based by 2030 or 2040 or 2050. I'm like, guys, like, eat more vegetables. That's wonderful, but we don't have to, like, what's the word? Not hate on meat, but we don't have to turn meat into the enemy.
No.
Let's just go and tell a lion that meat is the enemy. Like, and why are we trying to be so separate?
We haven't got the
It's
same
just
teeth
not-
as lions, though, Marcus. We've got different teeth. We've been,
That's why we're not 100% carnivores. That's why we're not
we've got
carnivores.
grinders. We're supposed to only eat plants. So that's ridiculous. So I agree with you, Piercy. Now, there's a few things that come out of this article that are worth noting. So, Hugo, the vegan, his libido went down. Now, that doesn't sell me on the vegan lifestyle, I have to tell you, Piercy. Like, just saying, like,
We could only have one child when we were vegans.
how about that?
Our second child was a raging carnivore.
So, like, if I'm going to jump ship from an omnivorous diet to a vegan diet, and one of the side effects is my libido drops off, not selling me. The second thing is that the microbial diversity across the board, you know, from both Ross and Hugo, both of their microbial diversities dropped off, didn't improve. Now, that's interesting.
Wow.
That's really interesting. That basically means that 12 weeks wasn't enough to shift the microbiome in a positive sense for the long term. So we know with Kyle Broccoli's gut movie, his other movie that, in this case, I starred in that movie, in the gut movie, we know that in a short space of time, he had a massive shift in microbial diversity. Huge shift in microbial diversity in a really short space of time. And what that implies is that in a really short space of time, you can create a huge shift in your microbial diversity. But it doesn't play out for the long term. What Ross and Hugo noticed was that if they did this for 12 weeks, they had a decrease in their microbial diversity. In other words, the initial phase, you would have a significant improvement or shift. In the settling phase, there might be a significant decline in the benefit. So that could be a decrease in libido, decrease in energy, decrease in body mass in terms of muscle. But the longer term approach is what we've got to be looking at, and that is what we would see, I suspect. And I'm going to hypothesize that if Ross decided that he was going to follow his omnivorous diet and continue that for 12 months, and if Hugo decided that he was going to follow his vegan diet for 12 months, that we might see a leveling out of the microbial diversity of the two of them. And we might see that they might both increase. And the key thing being that a healthy omnivorous diet is high plant-based diet anyway, just eating some animals. and the Hugo's diet being the vegan diet, he would still see a shift in his microbiome, and it should be improved. Like, it should be improved if he stuck to it for a longer period of time. What we've seen here is a classic example of somebody pulling out of a healthy eating plan too early, so they haven't actually reached the full benefit of it. That's what I reckon.
This is so good to listen to, and I'm loving that our listeners, we can engage live with them whilst we're recording. Have you seen the Facebook comments here?
Yeah,
Heidi
yeah.
Jennings, who is a wonderful listener. I've been plant-based for 2.5 years. I was 100% strict for 8 months, but then I relaxed. I love the way plant-based makes me feel, but I have a bit of meat every now and then. Oh, and Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate slips in a bit more, other than I like to admit. Well, I say gold star to you, Heidi Jennings.
Me too.
And the whole vocabulary of plant-based, I think, is great, because I don't know about you, Damo, but I would like to say that I'm plant-based.
Yeah.
Eggs and greens for breakfast, CPC for morning tea,
Yeah.
egg and salad for lunch, and like it's all veggie plant-based. And
Yeah.
fruits are plants, aren't they? They grow on trees. That's a plant.
The last time I
Debbie
checked.
Bunyard, yeah, I did juice fasting. Debbie says for a couple of weeks. Wasn't for me. Never been vegan.
Yeah.
Or vegetarian. I love meat too much, but I do eat lots of vegetables. So can we call that plant-based? I would love to say that's a plant-based.
I think so.
diet.
It's like the plant foundation. Like the foundation of my meals is plants. Like, if you had a piece of steak and you threw a few vegetables into that, then that'll be a meat-based diet. But if you have a big thing of veggies, which I've been saying for years to do, like the Palm method, the power of food, all of that, even going back to all the old books that I used to read, Dr. Barry Sears, Peter D'Adamo, all of those sorts of old eating programs, even Fit for Health and Fit for Life and Globesity and all these books, they all talk about having bucket loads of vegetables and then having some protein. Every healthy diet on the planet has bucket loads of vegetables and some protein. And there is a podcast that I listen to, PC, that's part of the Wellness Couch. It's the Barefoot Podiatrist, and he interviewed somebody who was a carnivore. And that carnivore said that plants are bad for you. They will cause all autoimmune diseases, including like kale and broccoli are the worst, and cabbage essentially will kill you. Anything green is bad for you. We're not meant to eat it. Now, I want to see what this carnivore is doing in 20 years' time, if he's still alive, if it's still happening, right? Because there's no one in the planet who has lived for a long time doing carnivore diet. And there's no one on the planet who's lived for a long time having done vegan forever. Like, you just don't see it. Like, we know there are some cases, and I read in your book last night, was it Ruth Frith that became plant-based or vegan?
Oh, no, you're talking about Mimi Kirk?
Mimi.
Is it Mimi Kirk?
Was it Mimi at like a really old age?
She had bad arthritis. Yeah.
Yeah, was that Mimi?
Mimi
okay.
Kirk.
Right. So she
Ruth
changed
Frith
and went
didn't eat
plant-based.
vegetables.
Yeah. She what?
Yep.
Ruth Frith didn't. That's right.
No,
She didn't eat veggies. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here is that you can be old and then change your diet and get a benefit from it. That's important to understand. But really what we're saying is that what the most successful cultures do is have a broad-based diet that's primarily plant-based, which is really interesting.
Can you, just to wrap up this episode, I would think it would be so appropriate, because I think, do a 12-week program, do whatever you like, but your palm method is timeless. Can you share with people your palm method? And, it's a great template for how to live over the long term for longevity. Would you be happy to share with people the palm method to wrap up this episode of 100 Not Out? Yeah,
totally. Absolutely. And because, this is visual for those people on Facebook. For those people who are doing the audio thing, you won't be able to necessarily see it. But I think I've made it available free now on Vimeo. So if you go to Vimeo or Vimeo, I don't know how best to say that. If you go to Vimeo or Vimeo and search my name, Damien Christoph, you can see the palm method. There's a video that I did a few years ago. But it talks about selecting protein, fat, and carbohydrate based on your own human design. So, Piercy, you've got big, long, slender fingers. I've seen them. And mine aren't as long and slender. Like, you can see a bit of dirt on there from golf. But, so I will have different portion sizes to you, Piercy, as Debbie will. She'll have different portion sizes to me. Heidi will have different portion sizes to me. And And so who else was on there? Fiona will have different portion sizes to me, and so will Lisa Fitzpatrick. She'll have different portion sizes to me, and anybody else who's listening to this will have different portion sizes to me because you've got different size hands. Anyway, so your portion of protein is selected by the size of your palm and the thickness of the skinny side of your palm, not the fat side of your palm. The portion of carbohydrates or vegetables, fruits, and salads is your finger spread. It's a whole mound. Where's my camera? There. It's a whole mound that mounds up on your hand of vegetables, fruits, and salads. And then your fats, it's 2 fingers, your pointer finger and your expressive finger, and you put both of those together. That gives you the amount of fat that you want to be having. So, and that's very rough. But if you want a more accurate representation of what that is, just watch the video. It's on either DamienChristoff.com or go to Vimeo and search Damien Christoph and then look for the palm method. I'm sure it's free. If it's not, I'll get off this call now and I'll make it free so people can see it.
I love Debbie Bunyard says, I use Damien's palm method, still have the DVD.
Wow.
It's playing every night whilst dinner's on the stove.
I love
Damo palm method DVD.
I love that you've got a DVD player still, Debbie. That's the best. Maybe you've just got the DVD, but you don't have the player. But that's hilarious. Somebody sent me today a picture of me from the original palm method cover that I did from Norm Broccoli. So Norm sent me this picture from the original palm method. Check this out.
Oh, look at you!
Look at you! That. How's that? Hey,
handsome stallion.
Look at that's old.
I love it.
Old. Anyway, interesting.
Our Facebook listeners, friends, and viewers, you were able to see Damo in all of his glory just then on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, we are at facebook.com/100 not out. You've got to spell out the words, and you can watch us live when we record, typically on a Wednesday afternoon, sometime between 3 and 4. Depends how Damo's gone on the golf course that day. Damo, thanks for your wisdom, your generosity with the palm method, and for sharing that article with me. It'd be a great topic of conversation for today. To all of our listeners, viewers, and the like, thank you for sharing in the 100 Not Out message. We would love it if you would share this podcast with a friend. Show them how to listen to podcasts. Show them how it works. You can listen to us in Spotify and the podcast app. Come on Facebook as well. And you can also check us out over at thewellnesscouch.com. Thanks again for your support of the 100 Not Out message. And until next time, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life. And bye for now.
Bye for now. I think I'll end broadcast.
Run, legend.
Hang on.